so much.
Good morning. Our presenter today is Miss Joy, and she's presenting from the Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired, who will be presenting on the topic 7 Secrets of CBVI. The floor is yours, Joy.
Okay, let's try this again. My name is Joy Atin-Shark. I am the supervisor of our statewide unit at the Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired. So I supervise our transition VR counselors, our college VR counselors, and our deaf-blind VR counselors. The commission is the CBVI is the VR agency that provides vocational rehabilitation services for individuals who are blind, visually impaired, or deaf-blind. Next slide. Ooh, I just lost mine. I'm having a lot of technical difficulties here. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Okay. The mission for the New Jersey Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired is to promote and provide services in the areas of education, employment, independence, and eye health through informed choice and partnership with persons who are blind, visually impaired, or deafblind, and their families and the community. Next slide. So you may or may not have known this, but Helen Keller helped establish CBVI. Helen Keller provided testimony to the legislature for the state commission to be established to provide instruction services to persons who are blind or visually impaired. The Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired, also known as CBVI, or the Commission, is a division of the New Jersey State Department of Human Services, or DHS, that was established by the legislature in 1910, making it not only one of the oldest continually operating agencies in New Jersey state government, but also in the country. Next slide. We are a lifespan organization. That means we serve everyone from when they're born to when they're no longer with us. So we provide services in the areas of education, independent living, vocational rehabilitation, and even services to individuals under our older blind program. All in-house blind professionals. We do provide all of our services, our specialized services for individuals who are blind or visually impaired are provided in-house. Our orientation and mobility instructors, for example, are all in-house. Orientation mobility instructors are instructors that teach travel training. Our teachers of the visually impaired, those are those individuals that come into your schools and work with your students who are blind or visually impaired to access the coursework at the education level that help with teaching an individual Braille technology or consult on various techniques, including font size and things like that, and where a person may sit in the room, lighting, to help the individual be able to be on the same playing field as their sighted peers. We have our VR counselors or vocational rehabilitation counselors. Again, they're in-house, and the counselors who I explained in my introduction, pre-ETS transition, college, deaf, blind, and then our general VR counselors provide all the vocational rehabilitation services to individuals who are blind or visually impaired. And then again, they are in-house. Our rehab teachers, we call them, or rehabilitation teachers, there are individuals who teach home and personal management. They instruct individuals who have vision loss or students who are learning to live with the limited or no vision that they have in their home environment. They use things such as bump dots, where they're like raised dots to put on, for example, a microwave or an air fryer. They teach them how to prepare meals for themselves, just like their sighted peers. They work with them on organizing their room, their personal space, so that they can get dressed independently for school. Or things like that on a adult level, or even a young adult level. They may work with them in their dorm environment so that they can again live independently and do things independently, just as their sighted peers. We have our technology services specialists as well, or TSS, and those individuals work with our consumers on training them on the various assistive technology devices and software that they need in their education, in possibly their work environment or job sampling environment, and eventually moving on to adult services upon completion of high school. Next slide. Support for diversity of goals. CBVI supports a range of employment goals and paths. We work with our students to expose them to all different types of employment paths and goals. We do not look at an individual's vision impairment to determine what goal or what career they choose. Rather, we look at what careers they would be interested in through different types of inventories, career inventories, job explorations, job shadowing, things like that, and help them to determine what type of career they may be interested in and how would they be successful in that career. Is there any post-secondary education that's needed? Do we need to partner with DDD and their programs if the individual has an intellectual disability that may also play into their barriers to employment? We do provide supported employment along with services from DDD to help in that process, as long as the person is looking to obtain competitive integrated employment. We provide all types of vocational training, or we will support vocational training depending on, again, the individual's interests, abilities, capabilities, priorities, concerns, and informed choice. We train on adapting to their vision loss. We train with them on their accessibility, on accessing different types of software programs, using devices to be able to access the world around them, including work. As I said before, we explore different careers through our different programs in transition. I'll go over that a little bit more. We also have our JKTC program, our JKTC, or Joseph Cohn Training Center, which is located in New Brunswick, provides intense training on independent living skills, travel skills, and vocational training. If the individual needs to learn how to use a computer with vision loss or without the vision that they have, if they need to learn how to, again, manage their home environment. And this is more of an intense 16 to 20 week program that provides that type of training. Okay, next slide. Like I said, we have specific counselors who provide pre-ETS and transition services. The Commission for the Blind actually, CBVI actually has over 50 years of transition services. We've been providing transition services since the 1970s. I received transition services about less than 50 years, but back when transition wasn't a major component of VR. CBVI has provided transition services long before Pre-ETS was established. We do have specific VR counselors, as I explained, who work with our transition students. So if you have a transition counselor or VR transition counselor that walks into your school, if you're a case manager or a professional working with consumers or in high school, ages 14 to 21, then you do not have to refer to DVRS because they are already working with a VR counselor and they're already either receiving pre-ETS or in the midst of applying for VR services if that's the appropriate next step for them. So like I stated before, CBVI is the VR agency for individuals who are blind, visually impaired, or deaf-blind students. We work with them on various paths to adult services, whether VR supported employment with VR DDD or straight to DDD. We have a transition program that has evolved and now is at our provided by the College of New Jersey, TCNJ. But for about 30 years, from 1970s till about the beginning of I think it's 2008, 2009, we've been providing a summer transition program to assist students in understanding what it is like to be in a college environment at Drew University. We've been providing this program for over 30 years. And like I said, it has evolved now to a program for juniors and seniors at TCNJ. Next slide. Holistic services. So blindness and visual impairment, the misconception or the possible perception for many people when someone says they're blind or visually impaired or blind in general is that the person can't see anything. That if someone says they're blind, that there's nothing that they can see around them. But blindness and visual impairment actually runs the gamut. You can have a person who meets the definition of legal blindness at 20 over 200 acuity. You guys know this as 20/20, but 20 over 200 acuity with a visual field of 20 degrees or less, which means you might have somebody walking around with a cane, but they can pick up a piece of paper or they can look at their iPhone without any assistive technology, maybe just enlarging the font a little from a pretty decent distance away, not up to their nose. Or you might have someone who's reading it where their iPhone is up to their nose. Um, and then they're just walking around, even without a cane, like they can see most things around them. You might have an individual who is walking around with a cane, might see the iPhone from a pretty decent distance away, but they don't have any peripheral vision, so they need their cane to travel safely because they can't see past a certain point from their central vision. So it's difficult for them to scan around, and they may have issues with seeing a person on their right side or their left side, or an object or obstacle. You might have an individual who has depth perception issues, challenges, where they can't see steps or curves or bumps or changes in the landscape. You might have individuals where night vision is a problem, so they're unable to see at night, or too much sunlight impacts their vision. So again, they need to utilize a cane to help them cross the street. But when they're in a shaded environment, they're fine. Like I said, vision runs the gamut. So if you have an individual who is identified as blind or legally blind or visually impaired, please have that conversation with them. Find out what can they see and what can't they see. That helps you to determine what services they may need. Because at the end of the day, a person can have the same exact acuity, the same exact condition, the same exact field loss, and see things totally differently. One can't read print, one may be able to read large print. One can travel with the cane, without a cane rather. One may need to utilize a cane because navigating with their eyesight is difficult. One might experience different visual impairment later in life, or their vision is slowly decreasing and they're not noticing it until they run into a situation. So that is what I mean by we look at things holistically, because vision is just not acuity on paper. It's just not numbers. It's what can the person see functionally. Hearing is the same thing. So that's why deaf blindness, we have to look at what the individual can functionally see and hear as well, in order to understand what their barriers to employment are. Next slide. Services for all New Jerseyans. CBVI also has what's called a business relations unit. Our business relations unit provides services to businesses in the areas of consultation, worksite evaluation, and training for employers. Our business relations unit will work with different businesses to help them understand the blind and visually impaired community, to help them be able to work with the blind and with a blind or visually impaired employee. Or if you have an individual who has, or if they have an employee that has is experiencing vision loss, they can assist in ensuring that that person retains their employment by receiving the training and assistive technology, so on and so forth, necessary for the individual to be able to do their job with their vision loss. For example, they also work with them on meeting their diversity goals as well. Community outreach and education. We have individuals that provide education to the public. They'll go to different health fairs, community fairs, things like that, community conferences, to provide information and do outreach for individuals who are blind or visually impaired that may not know about our agency or know what services we may be able to provide them. Project BEST, it also stands for Better Eye Services and Treatment. Provides eye screenings to underserved, uninsured, and and economically disadvantaged communities. We also partner with the Department of Health to administer diabetic screenings to a variety of underserved communities. So our Project BEST especially works with our school age students, preschool to about grammar school, elementary school, to do some eye screenings and to make sure that there isn't any challenges or issues with their eyes that we can catch early and maybe help with down the line, or even recommend that the individual go see an ophthalmologist so that we can hopefully prevent any further vision loss or vision challenges. They also work to help educate the community about diabetes. Diabetes is one of the leading causes of vision loss through diabetic retinopathy. And just to put a little plug in there, on November 18th, there might be still some room available. There is a diabetic clinic that will be taking place to help individuals determine they might be pre-diabetic, or whether they are a candidate for diabetes or maybe diabetic, and how to help control that condition so that the individual doesn't experience any vision loss from that. Oops, I did that the wrong way. Assistive support programs for individuals, renewals. Oops, I'm sorry. Renewal and education, also known as Aspire, offers support to adults through facilitating the development and maintenance of an extensive statewide network of peer support groups designed specifically for people with vision loss. There's about 70 support groups now, I believe. We do administer different support groups for different age groups, including our older blind population, parents, and for our deaf-blind community. If you have any individuals who might be experiencing vision loss, and maybe just a support group might be something that can get them started or exposed, or even just some help to kind of understand what they're going through with their vision loss, as we have our Aspire program that can assist in this area. Sometimes people are not ready for services yet, but having that support group makes a big impact in their ability to accept their vision loss and to learn what they need to be able to live independent and impactful lives. So that is my presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
I have a question here in the chat. What is the name of this division, the ones that train in the home?
That is our independent living unit, and they train, they're called rehabilitation instructors or rehab instructors. They're part of our independent living unit, and they're the ones who provide the home and personal management. but they'll also work in the school environment for individuals who have who are going through maybe an independent living type of class, or they're doing maybe a cooking class, things like that. And there's some assistive or adaptive equipment or even techniques they may need to learn. That's when our rehab teachers would come in to do that.
Excellent, thank you. If anyone else has a question, you can feel free to take yourself off of mute or drop it in the chat box. No pun intended, but this presentation was eye-opening. My child is followed by CBVI, and I didn't know the level of service possible at the transition level. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I do like that pun, though. I'm not going to
I
lie about
know.
it.
Well, if anybody has any questions, especially when it comes to pre-ETS and transition, please feel free to contact me. I will be able to answer those questions for you. And even if it's not related to that, but you do have a question, I can answer it as well as direct you to the appropriate office or unit of our agency, and they can help you further. And Amy, you should have my email address, correct? Or is that April?
Yes, we have
Yes,
your contact
do.
information. Yes,
Would you
ma'am.
like us to drop that in the chat for you?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me get that for you right now. 1 second, hold please. It's coming directly from my Outlook, so you guys are gonna see it in a different format. There you go.
Perfect. Well, thank you again, guys. And like I said, if you have any questions that you can't remember now and it comes to you later, feel free to email me, and I will definitely respond and help you out as much as I can. Thank you.
Thank you so
Excellent.
much, Joy. Thanks for being
Thank you. That concludes the workshop. 7 Secrets of CBVI from CBVI, and your presenter today was Ms. Joy. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and your resources.